We're starting this new series called Stand. And when you really start thinking about, and if you don't have a Bible, I want to get you a Bible. So if you put your hands up, we'll get you a Bible. I want you to open up to Daniel. And if you don't have, we may not have enough to get one for everybody right now. We've been going through a lot of them lately. But if you have your phone, you can open up to YouVersion, or you can surf on Facebook. You say, I was reading the Bible. That's okay. But also the verses are on the back of the bulletin. But the next 5 weeks has this potential to impact your life in a very significant way. This really can change something. It can become something different. If you take a stand for the right things, the right time, and the right way, you can change your course. You can do something different. Things can change. The problem has gotten is that we've compromised what we do. We've compromised and we've done the wrong things at the wrong times for the wrong reasons, and it's cost us more than we could ever imagine. It really has. It's done so much that it's hurt us and it's taken us down and it's torn us apart. And we can change that right now. We can go through and do something different. Over the next 4 weeks, or next 5 weeks, we're going to spend some time in the book of Daniel. And the first week today, we're going to talk about standing out. How do you stand out for God without standing out and being kind of obnoxious? Because there's people who stand out for God. You know, a lot of us, we see them where they're obnoxious how they do it. They stand out on the corners and they've got these signs that say, if you don't follow us, you go to hell. And that can be very difficult and be very challenging for people. How do we stand out and where we appear that we're doing what we're supposed to do, but still do it the way God has asked us to? The next week, we're going to talk about standing up for God. How do we stand up and what do we do what's right all the time? We stand up and people know that they can count on our integrity and doing what's right. Week 3, we're going to stand for. We're going to stand for what matters most. And then week 4, how do we stand against? And really, the question comes into how do we stand against these things that kind of tend to oppress us as people? How do we stand against the things that actually hurt us and destroy us? And then the last week, we're going to stand with one another. You're going to hear me talking a lot about this as small groups. Small groups, small groups. We're going to kind of push through small groups. And the reason why, guys, is because we can only do so much in this 1 hour. Only so much can happen in this 1 hour. If you are not part of a small group, you're going to get tired of me hounding you for the next 4 weeks, 5 weeks, because you have to be part of a small group. If you only get, just think about something. This cup of coffee, how long does this last? Maybe an hour, 2 hours, and then it's coming out the other end. That's what it is. How long do you think the message lasts? How long do you think this stays inside of you? You get a day? Maybe 2 days? What are you doing to keep yourself full? What are you doing to keep yourself going? Because what you do with your coffee is you drink a whole pot of it. But you don't do that with the message. You refuse to even go, no, I'm not going to touch that anymore. That's 3 days old stale. It's time for us to start changing, and it's time for us to start doing some things differently. In the beginning of Daniel, when you open up to Daniel 1, you're going to see this story, and it's got King Nebuchadnezzar, and he's from Babylonian, and what he does is he comes in and he destroys Jerusalem. He comes in and he just destroys it. He burns the temples, and he destroys the city. And really what he does is he humiliates God's people by taking their faith symbols from the temples and really just even more. He just comes in and he just goes, I'm going to take everything that represents what you believe in, and guess what? I'm going to take it to my gods. I'm going to take it to what I believe, and I'm going to give it to them as an offering, saying, hey, this is what I've done. When you read this, and if you really want to know when it takes place, it's in 605 BC. So 605 BC is really when all of this is transpiring. And in 605 BC, there's some people out there that are like the greatest leaders. They look at them and they go, there's some people that are going to be great young leaders. There's some people that we look at too, and we go, there's people that come to mind right now for you, and maybe you're thinking of your own children. You go, they have the possibility of being a great leader. They have somebody who can stand up and lead their people. They are going to be great. Some of us, we have those people. We can look at people and we can go, look, they have this amazing, just this aura around them. A lot of people like to say they portray that confidence. But this is exactly the same thing that happens back then. Is that King Nebuchadnezzar goes, I want some people. Now that we've taken over this country, I want some people from them, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start ingraining into them our traditions and what our beliefs are. And so he goes and I want the best. I want you to find the best, because we're going to start teaching them about us. And so what he does is he goes and he finds, he sends his general out, and his general comes back with 4 people from Jerusalem. And the 4 from Jerusalem are just standouts. They are like the best. You look at them and you go, wow, they're going to be great. You know, some of us, we can think of some of those people and you go, they're just going to do amazing things. And they're going to teach them how to do Babylonian culture, and they're going to train them how to be government leaders, and they're going to teach them how to be advisors under the Babylonian traditions, not underneath our traditions of or you know, from our past. And so then the king ordered Ashpenaz, the chief of his court officials, to bring the king's service some Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He wanted to teach them the language and the literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table, and they were to be trained for 3 years. After that, they were to enter the king's service. Now, it's very, very intentional. When you look at this, the king says, I'm going to be very intentional. I want you to go get the best. They got to be good looking. You know, they got to go get people like me. You know, they got to get, they got to go get people that are good looking. They got strong aptitude. They got, they've got this whole sense they can go, oh, I can learn. I can pick it up. Very, very intentional. He wasn't second guessing anything. He said, that person. This is how we have to start becoming. Not like how he picks them out like this, but we need to be intentional on what we do. We need to be intentional with our thoughts. Just like he was like, I know what I want. I want to think this. And he was intentional with how they behaved, what they did. They went out and they said, go out and pick the right ones. And then they became intentional with their beliefs. Now, if you take this and you throw it to the other side, and you can see what the devil does to us all the time. The devil is very intentional with what he tries to make us think. Very intentional. It's always, this is how it's going to be. This. It's intentional. And it's intentional with how he makes us behave. Think about it. We sin without even thinking about it. We just do it automatically. We're like, oh, I just sinned there, didn't I? We think about it after we've done it. We look at it and go, we'll be walking along, and all of a sudden we just go, oh, I tripped and fell into some sin. And that's just how it is. But we've also become to this way where our beliefs and what we believe a lot of times has become part of this sinful nature that we have. Our whole belief structure has been changed. You got to remember is that they have launched a full-scale attack against us. Back then, they were trying to seduce. Hey, we're going to teach these guys. They're going to be from the people. They're going to go back, and they're going to start growing them and teaching them. And they did it they just seduced with lies and with, just different ways to deceive us. Hey, we're going to give you the best. You're going to get the best food. You're going to get the best wine. And it was all a whole screen in order to get them to do what they wanted them to do. Isn't this some of the stuff that happens now? Look at the media. If you've ever sat down and watched the news recently and you just watch it, when was the last time you saw something that Christians did good for this world? When was the last time you watched it and you said, hey, they just talked about how almost all the water in Africa is provided by Christians. Almost all of it. We've provided almost all of the water wells in rural Africa. Christians have done that. It wasn't done by city leaders. It wasn't done, but that just gets washed away. Nobody ever talks about that. What they talk about with Christian leaders? They talk about how we try and firebomb somebody else's house. Oh, a Christian pastor tries to firebomb ex-girlfriend. And that makes national news. But what about, wait a minute. We just gave water to millions of people, and we just did all these different things. So people are always trying to look at us and they go, oh, we got to pick that apart. We got to pick that apart. The other thing you always hear about Christian leaders, well, especially Catholic leaders, is if one of them decides that they want to go off and touch somebody inappropriately, that makes the news all the time. But you never hear about us doing 800 students get to go back to school with school supplies. That doesn't make the news, because guess why? It's because they are really trying to focus us and show us this is the direction we're going to go. We want you to get the news that we want you to have, not the news that you think that you need to have. It's a whole media-driven culture. Look at the advertisements that you see on a regular basis. Look at the advertisements. Start picking them apart. I'm an energy drink fanatic. I am. I drink them all the time, and I should own stock in Rockstar and all these other companies because I buy enough of it I can probably pay myself back the dividends. But The reason why I bring it up is because I had somebody come to me. I was doing a wedding a couple weeks ago, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, you know what that monster, that claw mark on the monster can stands for?" I said, "Yes, M. That's what it stands for. It is an M." And he goes, "Nah, man." And he was like one of these old hippie dudes. "Nah, and I go, he's all, "If you break it apart," well, it's not broken apart, but if you break it apart, okay, it's the Hebrew 6. It's 3 6s in a row. And I go, "Oh, man." And he goes, and I was holding actually pretty much this type of same drink. And he goes, "Hey, look, you've got the star on your can." And I go, "Man, dude, how much drugs have you done? Holy cow." I mean, and he goes, "That's the devil." And I go, "Okay. Mm. That devil's delicious." But that's what happens is they start looking at the advertisements and people overread into it, and I'm just joking about these ones. Symbolism is what you can make a symbol out of anything. We can look at a cross and we can do all kinds of different things. And so you start looking at it and you go, that's not the intent. I think a 16-year-old did the can design for Monster. It was no ill things going on. But still, look at all the other advertisements you see. It is literally, they're trying to push you with different things. They're pushing you with sex. They're pushing you with, you have to buy this car in order to be sexy. You got to have this in order to have that. You see all these different things where they go, your perfect weight is this. You don't know what my perfect weight is. How do you know? I've got different bone structure. I've got this going on. Just because you have an average doesn't mean that that's what my perfect weight is. Guys, a lot of times I go up here and I go, I'm fat. And everybody goes, no, you're not fat. I just carry it really well. I mean, and that's really what people think. Is that they go, no, you're pretty skinny. And I go, no, I'm really not. I know what my normal weight is. I know where I'm supposed to be at. And then they go, no, your BMI is 38. I get on the thing that says, I get on the Wii, and it goes, ow, get off me. And that's not a lie, by the way. I mean, I do. I step on it, it goes, ow, but we get pushed with these advertisements. We get pushed to this point where we think that we have to be some certain way because somebody else has said it, instead of what God has told us and what God has said you have to be and what direction you have to be. We get so consumed with the media and get so consumed with what's going on. Look at your music. Look at what you listen to. Now, if you listen to Christian music and that's all you listen to, that's awesome. The reality is, chances are, you probably have KSFM, KISS, all these different channels programmed in your car, not just K-Love and Air One. And so when you get in there and you start listening to this different music, I want you to just, when you ride home today and you're listening to that music, I want you to really listen to the words. Listen to what they're saying. Because there's some things in there that you would go, oh my gosh, how did I just let this out to my family? Because your kids will be in the car, and did he just say to slap her with his thing? And that's exactly what comes out in some of this music. Some of this music, they talk about how do we degrade people, and that's literally what the conversation. Look at how it destroys us. Look at where it takes us. And we go, oh, no, it's just music. I like the beat. The beat gets me going. Yeah. Guess what your kids are listening to in the back seat? We were driving along one time, and my daughter, who's 16 now and turning 32 tomorrow, as we're driving along, she started singing along with the words of a song, and I go, it was talking about how she wanted to, it was literally one of these songs where it's like, let's have sex, and this. It's like, wait a minute here. That's an obvious thing that they're not picking up what we pick up, or the meat, or the beat, or whatever it is. They pick up, oh, they got the hook. That's what they got. And that's what ends up happening. Look at what your children are going through. Now, am I saying we can change it? Sure. But the problem is we buy, we believe, and then we think. We buy, then we believe, and then we start thinking about it. A lot of times we make the action, we do all these things, and we believe that we're doing what's right, and then we think twice on it, and we go, oh, wait a minute, should have thought a little bit before that. We buy certain movies without even thinking about it. We do certain things without thinking about it. We believe that it's okay. Then we think about it, and we realize that it was wrong. What we need to start doing is we need to start making some changes. In this world, you can't passively be a Christian. You can't passively be a Christian. You need to start saying, I'm going to be a Christian, and believe and start moving forward. Now, we all know that if you're like me, one cup of coffee doesn't get you going. It doesn't. You get up in the morning, you need a cup of coffee, you need another cup of coffee after you brush your teeth, you need another one during breakfast, you need another cup of coffee at this point, that point, and all of a sudden, you go, I've got my fill for the day after you're pot down. How is it that you go to the gas station and you buy 1 gallon of gas. How far is that going to get you? That's how we get. I'm going to go to the gas station. I'm going to buy 1 gallon of gas. Or, even better, I'm going to go to the gym today. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get buff. One time. One time. You guys are all laughing. How is it that we expect to come to church one time on Sunday and expect to grow and expect to get our fill when we know it doesn't work with food, we know it doesn't work with coffee, we know it doesn't work with going to the gym, we know it doesn't work with all these other things, but we expect it to work with church? How is it that we get to that point? We go, I'm going to have a great relationship with Jesus, but I'm never, ever going to spend time with him. Ever. Except for on Sunday for 1 hour. Wait a minute. You don't improve yourself with the gym that way. You don't get big and fat like me right now that way. You don't get all those things. You have to work at it. You have to eat. You have to do these different things. You cannot passively be a Christian. The Bible tells us in Ephesians 6, put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand. So that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you'll be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, to stand. Think about this. Think about this. What it says this. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself now. Why? Because the day is coming. And it may not be, guys, do you think, realistically, do you think the devil shows up wearing a red suit with a pitchfork? Is that what you guys think? He shows up and goes, ha, I'm here. No, it doesn't work that way. He shows up through everything else. And that's why he says you have to be on guard. Always have the full armor of God on. You have to have it on all the times because the devil creeps. He comes in through different ways. He gets in and he's going to do everything he can to come in and get to you. So you have to be ready and stand. And be able to stand up and go, you know what? I know what I believe, and I know what is right. And a lot of times, we don't spend enough time in the Word. We don't spend enough time with other people that are helping us grow, and we end up getting lost. And we end up getting very hurt, and we get to this point where we go, how do I get to where I'm supposed to be? But we don't know how to stand because we're standing on worldly things. And I'll apologize because I love to butcher words. So before we dive into this next verse, and it says, among those who were chosen from Judea, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, the chief official gave them new names. Now I want to stop there. The chief official gives them new names. You know what? And for them, it wasn't like a big question for them at this point. He comes in and he gives them these new names. And they just kind of took that. They said, you know what, that's okay. We know who we are. We know who we are. It doesn't matter what you call us. We know who we are. And so to Daniel, and like I said, here's where it gets. It's Belteshazzar. I'm just going to butcher the next ones. And then to Hananiah is Shadrach. To Mishael is Meshach. And to Azariah was Abednego. 4 boys, 12 to 15 years old, uprooted from their family 1,000 miles away, and it wasn't one of those things. They were stripped of their identity, they were stripped of their name, and they had their any sense of integrity or any sense of identity was crushed. That's what happens. Somebody takes away everything from you, they just crush it like that. Could you imagine if somebody showed up at your house today, they took you away, they changed your name, and then they put you in a place and they said, you're going to do what I want you to do. Today we call it Stockholm Syndrome. That's what we call it. We see it happen. Remember there was a lady that was kidnapped when she was 16 years old. They find her 16 years later. She's got 2 children, and she's like, I love those people. I do. How could you love somebody who kidnapped you? Because they've stripped away all dignity, and then they've raised you the way that they wanted to raise you. This is exactly what's happening to these people back then. This is exactly what's going on to these 4 young men. They changed their names. All their names, their original names, were all related to Yahweh. All of them were related to Yahweh, to our God that we look at now, the true God. They changed them to Babylonian gods. They changed their diet. They eat food that was prepared for a king, that the king blessed to be sent to his gods. That's what they've done. meat and wine that was dedicated to pagan gods. But Daniel refused to defile himself with the royal food and wine. And he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself this way. They didn't fight when their names were taken. They didn't go look at this and go, oh, no, we're going to fight. They knew that those were outward labels, and they knew who they were. They didn't defend their name. What they decided to do was they took a stand when God's name was to be defamed. That's exactly, they take a stand and go, you will not do this, and you will not force me to eat food that came from, that's been dedicated to some pagan god. For us, we don't do that. We don't do that at all. When we start looking at things and we start going through life and we start doing what God has asked us to do, you know what we do? We get to this point where we just start eating the food. We're like, I got to eat. I got to have some. I got to do what God has asked me to do. God didn't ask me to starve myself. We rationalize it. God will understand. He'll understand that I have to eat this. He'll understand that I have to do what he said. Everybody else is doing it. These are the things that we do. We rationalize it. Everybody else is eating it. You know, your parents told you this. If everybody else is jumping off a bridge, are you going to jump off too? And you're like, yeah. Doesn't hurt anybody. I have to eat. We have to make this predetermined resolution. We have to sit there and we have to go, these are the things I'm going to do, and this is going to be my plan. If you're going to stand out for God, you're going to have to make some decisions ahead of time. You know, it really comes down to this. If you said that I'm not going to have sex until marriage, then you're not going to put yourself in the backseat of a Buick with a man or a woman. That's just what it's going to be. If you make that resolve, I'm not going to do this, then you're not going to intentionally put yourself back there. Why? Because you know where it's going to lead to. You know what the direction it's going to go. I'm not getting drunk. Well, guess what that means? That means that you don't go frequent bars all the time. Because if you're going to go frequent bars all the time, you're going to get drunk at some point or another. I'm not going to laugh at filthy jokes. You know, guys, we hear this all the time. People put it, you know, they say filthy jokes all the time. And what do? We laugh at them and we sit there and then we go, ha, I got one better. Did you hear about this? And all of a sudden we get involved in it and we get sucked into it. We go, and we think about it later and go, that was really wrong for me to say. I'm not going to get involved in private conversations. But yet, we are so nosy and we want the drama. We go get the cup and we'll listen on the wall to see what's going on. You know, what are my parents talking about? And get up on the wall and, you know, that's how we get. I'm not going to get caught up in materialism. How many of us get caught up in materialism? I have to have this. I got to have this car. I got to have this thing. I got to have this iPad or this thing or that thing or whatever it is. We get so caught up in having things, worldly things, rather than doing what God has asked us to do and says, stop worrying about these things here and worry about the eternal. How do you get rid of the worldly things and the materialism? You start getting content with what you have. That's what you have to do. You have to be content. And you start looking at this. How much time are you spending with God? Major question. How much time are you spending with God? Guys, I will tell you, I'm a pastor. I'm a pastor. My job is to spend time with God. My job. So that means I should spend 40 hours a week in God's work. And that's what it should be. That's it. I don't do that. Am I spending enough time with God? Okay. How much time do you spend at work? How much time do you spend in the Bible? How much time do you go, well, God, why aren't you listening to me? Because God goes, I've been trying to talk to you, but you won't pick up my word and start listening to me. I'm telling you what to do, and you won't listen to me. And you go, why are all these things going wrong? I'm going to go to church. But yet we meet every Sunday, we miss every Sunday. Like, oh, the football game's on. I'm going to skip this week. Really? I'm going to tell you how the football game's going to work out this week. I'm going to tell you how the whole season's going to work out. It's going to work out perfect. So if you're a Raiders fan, they're going to lose a whole lot of games. That's what's going to happen. It's going to. If you're a Niners fan, they're going to win a whole bunch of games, and then they're going to get to the end, and they're going to choke. That's what it's going to be. I've given you the whole season right there. Be at church. That's all you have to do. You can get the highlights later. Yeah. I'm going to keep my eyes pure. And you know, guys, and the reason why I bring up football is because you go, I'm going to keep my eyes pure. Well, you go back, and I want you to look at something. Do you know what they have in football games? You know, if you're a Raiders fan, they have the Raiderettes. You went to a football game. Did you go look to go see a whole bunch of cheerleaders dancing up and down? No, they did that in order to entice more guys. You know, if you go to Dallas, inside of the new Dallas, the Cowboys Stadium, they have got go-go dancers all the way up on the 5th deck. You know why? Because you can't see anything else except for them. That's it. You can't see the game in the 5th deck. There's 140,000 people there. It's better to watch it on home. No, that's how they have to keep you entertained, by having some half-naked woman up there. That's why you'll buy those seats. Well, that's the reason why they run the cheerleaders through the stands, to get you there. And don't think that just because you're a Niners fan or a Seahawks fan or anything else, they all exist at all of them, and it's to entice you to continue to come and to continue to come back. The Gold Rush, and I don't know what they call the Seahawks ones, but I'm sure it's some bird thing. But you get there, and that's what it is. It's to entice you to come back. They can't get you with the team because the team usually sucks, so what do? Let's get some women running around in here half naked. That'll get you to come to the game. You want to keep your eyes pure? Well, watch it at home and get the best view that they've got. Sorry, my little rant. It looks like a one-time event when you look at this. When you look at Daniel, it looks like it's a one-time thing. He comes out and he goes, "Yeah, I'm not going to eat that." And it sounds like up until this point, he goes, "It's just going to be a one-time thing." But one-time events can make it to where we live decisions daily. It can make it to where this one-time event, you can turn it into a daily decision. You can make it to where this is how it's going to be. Day after day, for Daniel, he stood out at breakfast, he stood out at lunch, and he stood out at dinner. Can you imagine? There's 4 of them at the table. The 4 dudes are sitting down. Everybody else they've got nice choice cuts of meat. They've got mashed potatoes. They got all the stuff that gets you this size. Okay, they got all those things. And at the other end of the table, Daniel and his boys, they've got stuff that I wouldn't eat: vegetables and nuts and berries. And you look at it, and they don't have any wine. They have water. And so now I want you to know, they didn't have water purification back then, so that water wasn't clear water, okay? So it probably had a nice little brown tint to it, but this is how they stood out. They said, "This is better for us than eating what's been blessed for pagan gods. This is better for us." And that's what they did. And it wasn't a public show, but it ended up becoming where everybody looked out and said, "There's something different about them. Those guys down at the end of the table, they're eating different food. What's going on?" There was something different. It was a bold display. They boldly said that this is what we're going to do. Daniel comes out and he says, "Please test your servant for 10 days. Please, please test your servant for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink, and then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see." So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier, better nourished than any of the other young men who ate the royal food. Now, prior to this, you got to remember, the palace guard was looking at him and he's going, "No, I can't do that. The king has got his plan. The king says you're going to eat this." And the king, he's in charge. You defile the king, you go against what he says, he offs you. It's simple as that. And so he goes, "I'll put it for a test. I'll give you the 10 days. We'll see how it happens." And instead of making a public protest, Daniel doesn't come out and he doesn't go, "I refuse to eat that." He doesn't come out, he goes to the royal guard and he goes, "Please, listen to me. Please, I can do it this way." It's not like some huge, big public protest. Daniel honors authority and he creates a plan. He honors the authority and he creates a plan to go, here's how we can get there. You guys got to remember, you can stand out in the wrong way. You can stand out completely in the wrong way. I want you to think about something right now. When you're looking back at this incident that's going on in Missouri right now, okay, 7 days later, look at what's happening. What stands out? What stands out is the people that are looting, the people that are robbing places, the people that are out at night getting shot with tear gas, and we've lost track of the young man who lost his life. Because it's become now, how much can we steal? How much can we get? You can stand out on the wrong way. Peaceful protest compared to what's going on right now, 2 complete different things. We have to start looking at things and going, how are we standing out right? And guys, I hate to tell you this, none of the facts are out yet. We have no idea what's going on. And so we're out and we're standing out going, there has to be justice. Absolutely there has to be justice, but we really, really need to start standing out in the right way. We need to stand out and go, how is it that one crime and then another crime equals a right? It doesn't work that way. Two crimes don't equal a legal person. It's not how it works. A lot of the time, we get to this point where we point and then we want to get involved instead of standing back. And what we really need to be doing for that city is we need to be praying. We need to be praying for this city. Because I want to tell you something, is that 2 nights ago, 3 young men were shot right here in this city. And so you hear that. That didn't make national news. That didn't get any of that stuff going on. And we're so worried about some of this stuff. 3 young men are clinging to life right here in our own community. You know, we need to be prayer. We need to be in prayer. We need to be in prayer for this community. I'll tell you, is that we did a community prayer here. We wanted to go out and go to the community prayer, and we wanted to go out and we wanted to do, hey, let's go reach this community. Let's go show people that we really care. Guys, and we've asked you, partner with us, be part of this with us, do life with us. And we go out there and nobody shows up to these things. You go, we want our community to change. We want our community to be different. Well, then what are you doing to make it different? You sit on the sidelines and you go, oh, no, they're going to do it for me. That's exactly what everybody else thinks. They're going to do it for me. Yeah, doing it for me has gotten me so far. You see what's happened to our community and our nation? You see how far we've gotten by allowing people to do it for us? We allow this government to run us. We allow this country to go down the garbage into the toilet because we allow other people to do it for us. You know why there's so much crime? It's because people don't know what a Bible looks like. They have no idea. We've taken it out of the schools. We've taken it out. We had somebody, they went traveling through all the hotels. You can't even find a Bible. The Gideons can't even make it into the hotels anymore. What are we doing? Where have we lost our whole train of thought? And we've said, we're going to take all this away. Every civilization that has removed the Bible and removed God from it, guess what's happened? It is gone. It is destroyed. There is no more. That is what is happening to us right now. Will it happen in our lifetimes? It might. It might. Look at how much this country is going down. Why? It's because we have forgotten what a Bible looks like and how to act and what God has told us to do. We don't pray. We don't pray often enough. We don't come together and pray. We don't get involved in small groups. We come to here and we go, hey, I got my 1 hour of church and my free cup of coffee. I'm good to go for the week. It's time to start thinking a little differently. It's time to start standing up for what we believe in. Because if we stand out, and it doesn't mean that we got to go out and cause some sort of ruckus and start being, we don't have to go to these extremists. No. We stand out as Christians. We stand out and do what God has asked us to do. We stand out and we go, yes, there is something different about me. I follow God. I follow what Christ has told me to do. I stand out because people know that I'm a Christian. Do people know you're a Christian? Do people know it? Can they tell from a distance? Can they look at you from 50 feet away and go, there's something different? Because I bet they can't. I bet you act just like everybody else. And when you're just like everybody else, you get lost in the crowd. And when you get lost in the crowd, you become a nobody. That's what's happened to us. The Christian voice isn't being heard anymore because we're lost. We're just acting like everybody else. And we go, we want things to be different. We want things to change in this country. We want to do all these things. God gave them knowledge of understanding. And they were better in school than everybody else because of it. When they look back at this and they looked at Daniel and they go, man, he could understand visions and dreams. He could understand it. He could see it. And the king talked with him. And he found none equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. It's Daniel 1:19. When I bring this up, and I want you to really look at this, is everybody equal to you? Because you should stand out, and none should be found equal to us. None should be found equal to how we act as Christians. None should be found equal to how we act as people. None. Because we know what God has asked us to do. We can read the Bible. We can interpret it. Can we stand out and go, I can do this? I can stand up and I can stand out proud and I can go, you know what? God has given me a plan and He's given me direction and I know what He's asked me to do. Because a lot of times we want to cower and we want to hide and we just want to blend in and we go, oh, they're not going to like me. What am I going to do without friends? What am I going to do? Guess what? You're going to make new friends. Friends that have the same beliefs. Friends that have the same courage. Friends that want to stand out. Friends that want to help you grow. That's what you're going to do. Instead, you're going, I got to keep these guys that want to take me to the strip club. They want to take me to this bar. They want to take me here. They want to take me there. No, you should find people that want to bring you to church and help you grow. That's what you should find. You should find people that want to help you get to Jesus and help you learn and understand and grow to where you have a firm understanding of the Word, to where you know what God's plan is for your life. If you don't know what God's plan is for your life, then you're not here often enough. You better know for certain what God wants you to do. Because I know what God wants me to do. God wants me to bring people to Jesus. That's what He wants me to do. I know that. Do you know what God wants you to do? Because if you don't, you better pick up a Bible. Because there's a plan in there for you. He's given you the instructions, and He says, this is what I want you to do. And then when you start acting that way, you will find it. When you start doing what He's asked you to do, you will find that direction and that courage to stand up and go, man, what was I thinking back then? Because all of us have a back then. All of us. Each one of us. Even the 10-year-old in the front row. We all have a back then. We do things and we look at it and we go, man, if I could change this, or I could change that, or I could do this, I would make a different decision here. We all have that. It comes with understanding. It comes with where we get to look at it and go, oh, that's it. I can change it. Oh, there it is. And we find it in the Word. If Daniel and his buddies simply blended in, nothing historic would have happened. They just would have blended in, nothing historic would have happened. Nothing of any sense. We would never even be reading this. Or if they had stubbornly refused to eat, they would have been executed. They would have sat there and go, nope, we're not going to eat that. Then guess what? The king would have said, off with their heads. And that's where it would have been. Time and time again, you will be lured to blend in. All the time. It will happen. People will ask you all the time to blend in. They will ask you, come in. Come to this. Let's do this. Let's go here. Come here. Let's do this. Let's go have this life. Let's go do this. All the time you will have to, people are going to go, hey, let me tempt you with this. Let me tempt you with this. All of those things cause you to blend in. Do you stand out? Can you take a stand? Can you take a stand to stand out and go, I'm going to do what God has asked me to do. I'm not going to do it foolishly. I'm not going to do it stubbornly. I'm going to do it the way that God asked me to do it, lovingly. With love, and loving my neighbor, and loving my friends, and loving the people that I don't even think they deserve to be loved sometimes. You know, guys, we have a choice to make. The choice completely resides within each one of us. We can take a stand and stand out, or we can be remembered for being forgotten and blending in. I'd rather be remembered for standing out than forgotten for blending in. I'll tell you that right now. You can take a stand against the devil's schemes and put on the full armor of God. When evil comes, you'll be able to stand up and go, I can handle this. Because evil's going to come. It's going to. It's going to show up. Even the Bible tells us when all else is done, stand. Stand up. Stand with God's protection. Stand knowing that God will take care of you. Stand knowing that you can do what is right all the time. Stand. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of being a Christian. Don't hide it, because hiding it has gotten us to here. It's time for us to stand up and go, I am who I am. I am who God says I am, and it's time for me to grow, and it's time for me to help others around me grow. So if you're doing it on the sidelines and you're trying to show up on Sundays for an hour and a half, then guess what? You're not growing. I told you you're going to get tired of hearing me pitching groups. You better get into a group. There's groups for everything. For everything. If you're a gamer, not like gamer like video games, because we're not doing that. But if you like the little figurine things, or you play like War Machine and stuff like that, there's a group. I mean, it's really intricate, and I don't even want to make you believe I understand it. But there's a group for you. There's a group if you like building things. You want to go out and build something? There's a group for you. You want to go out and shoot something with a crossbow or with whatever? Go out and hang out with guys and do guy things. then guess what? There's a group for that. Yeah, in fact, I think you have to sign a liability waiver. You're like, oh, nope, I'm not going to sue the church. There's a group. There's a women's group. And I know that Melissa's going to come up here and pitch it, and women's group's amazing. Then I expect all of you women there. All of you. It's time to get plugged in, and it's time to find people that will help you grow, because you're hanging out with people that are tearing you down. You're hanging out with people that are not. When you get to work, you got to think about it. All the battles you fight at work, if you don't have a group of people that are standing with you that you can support with, that you can go, hey, look, here's how we get past this. Here's how you need people at the end of the day that you can call and go, let me tell you what happened. Not just your spouse, because your spouse, if it's a guy, he's like, tell me about your day. Well, I'm watching this game. You need people that are going to help you grow. You need people that are going to help you get through all these different situations so that you can stand. Daniel didn't do it on his own. Daniel had his 3 buddies with him. Remember, Jesus had 3 really close buddies too. The reason why is because he knew he couldn't do it on his own. Guys, you and 3 others makes a pretty close group. And if we don't have a group that fits you, then let's create one that fits you. Let's do it right now. You'll walk out there and go, nope, I don't see anyone that's interesting. Then let's do it. You got something that's more interesting? Let's put it together. Groups start in 2 weeks. On your way out, there's a table. Sign up. It's time to find people to help you grow. It's time to find people to help you stand, and it's time for you to stand out and start doing something different and start following God's plan for your life instead of the thing that you go, oh, this is great. It's not great. It's very lonely, and you're always trying to search for the answer. The answer's right there in front of you. You showed up here, and God's going, I want you to stand out. And you've gone, yeah, kind of like it over here hiding. It's time to bring our faith out. It's time to do what God has asked us to do. And it starts right now. It starts right now. It's time to change it. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing what it means to stand out, showing what it means to stand, even though people are pushing us other directions, even though that sometimes there's better food or sometimes there's things out there that look better to us, which in reality they're not. They can hurt us. They can take away from us. They can hinder us from growing closer to you. So God, I ask for your courage, your strength to stand. I ask, for some of us, we've been lost. Some of us, we've been hiding, and it's time for us to stand out, and it's time for us to come out and go, God, I'm ready to follow. I'm ready to do the life that you've asked me to do, and I'm sorry that I've been cowering and hiding my Christianity, and I promise to change it now, and I promise to start moving forward with you. I know that you sent your son for me. Even though I was still sinning, even though I was still hurting, even though I was still lost, I know that you sent your son for me so that I can have life with you, so that I can stand out, so that I can be the Christian that guides others to where they can have life with you. God, give me the strength and the courage to be that son or daughter of God where I can grow and help others grow and help others come to know you. God, I know I've been lost. And I ask that you give me that new life to come and walk next to you and walk with you, to do life with you. God, I know what I've been doing hasn't been working, and it's time to stand up and stand out and do what you've asked me to do. And that means to recommit to you, to commit to you saying that I will be the man or the woman that you designed me to be. That I will do life and help with others' burdens. That I will help others grow so that they can help me grow. And I want that. And I want to do it now. If you prayed that with me right now, keeping your heads down, can you put a hand up for me that you prayed, that you want to do it differently, that you want to stand out, that you want to do what God has asked you to do, that you're tired of hiding and not being a Christian, but being a Christian at home, but a Christian on the street you just lost. Nobody even can tell. Nobody knows that you follow along, that you're doing what God has asked you to do, that you just blend in, and you're ready to change that, and you're ready to do what God has asked you to do. You're ready to step out and follow His plan for your life. You're ready to do what He's asked you to do. Do not be afraid right now. Nobody's looking. Nobody cares. And they should all be looking because they want to help you and support you through it. Nobody's going to stop by and go, I'm going to take your wallet because you got your hand up. So if you're changing, then it's time to change. And it's time to do what God is doing, that asked you to do. And it's time to stand up. You can put your hands down. God, I know that you're throwing a party right now. That your sons and daughters have come home. That they've said that I'm wanting to stand up so I can help bring others home. That I want to stand out so people know that being a Christian is good, is great, is lovely. God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the courage. Thank you so much for the strength. And now, God, I ask for each one of us to be able to get that wisdom to be able to stand up and stand out, to know to make the right decisions, to follow you at the right times, to do life with you. God, thank you so much. And all this we pray in your Son, Jesus' name.